CYPHER looks to be one of the most impactful agents at launch in Valorant. He has great utility in the form of traps, remote activation LOS/slow abilities, a remote camera that can help him gain information and hold multiple angles, and an ultimate that is literally game ending. Let's break down CYPHER's kit and give you tips and tricks on what you could do to start popping off on this hero right at beta release. If you like Valorant content, definitely smash the subscribe button. We're going to be pumping out daily Valorant content going forward. Now, kicking this off, let's break down each ability one at a time and tell you tips and tricks over each one so that you get the full picture when playing this hero. The first ability we definitely need to talk about with CYPHER is his Trap Wire. Now, Trap Wire is a unique ability. You send out a projectile that leads an invisible wire between two walls. If enemies walk into this wire, they not only get stunned, but their locations get revealed to you and your team. If an enemy gets stunned by Trap Wire and you and your team are nearby, you can easily kill them, meaning that they have to avoid Trap Wire at all costs. Now, you might be asking, what can that enemy do to actually play around Trap Wire? And I'm going to tell you a few things. First off, if they walk into Trap Wire, they have a split second where they can actually shoot the Trap Wire, thus making it so that they don't get stunned. This is an extremely tight window, and it's going to be a very difficult shot to hit in that time frame. On top of this, enemies can destroy the Trap Wire, but only if they see it. And something that's really important to understand about Trap Wire is that if you're moving at maximum speed with your knife out, you're not going to be able to see the Trap Wire at all. It's going to be completely invisible. This means that Trap Wire forces enemies, when they're up against a CYPHER, to slow rotate, which gives you and your team an entire strategic advantage. They can't be rotating quickly and running across the map, or they risk getting trapped in your trap wire and being killed with little to no counterplay. This is really important. This is the true power of CYPHER. He punishes whole team strategies and can stop them from rotating fast, which is a huge disadvantage for them. Something that's important about Trapwire, though, is that Trapwire can be jumped over or ducked under. You need to be sure to put it at that sweet middle ground to where it can't be jumped over or ducked under. And the reason for this is if it simply gets destroyed, you at least gain information. You know that the enemy is trying to flank around. You know that the enemy is there. Even if they manage to find the Trapwire first, destroy it, you get that precious information. But if they jump over it or duck under it, then they can potentially sneak up on you without you knowing at all. So this is something that's really important that you need to understand. Try to make it in that sweet spot. And then also keep in mind that there's still some characters that can sneak by it. Think about Jet using her vertical mobility to get by your trap wire. That could be a way that she sneaks around and actually gets the flank on you. So don't trust it 100% of the time to stop flanks. The last thing I'm going to talk about Trapwire is that you can actually stack two. So you could potentially purchase two, put Trapwires in two separate locations, and block off potential flanks from the enemy, and really have an ability that can get free picks on the enemy or punishes them for fast rotation altogether. Now let's talk about the next ability of CYPHER, and this is Cyber Cage. Now, Cyber Cage is an interesting ability. It's a projectile that you throw down, can't be destroyed by enemies, can't even be seen, but when you activate it, it's a remote activation, and it's an LOS blocking cylinder. LOS meaning line of sight. So it creates this fog, this gray digital fog that makes it so enemies can't see through it in the same way that a smoke can. But if an enemy's inside it, it actually slows them, which means that you could potentially push them. It blocks the complete field of view when they're inside it, so it's really risky for them to push out of it. And even when they do, they're going to have no information about the outside. So it's an extremely powerful ability that can be used for a lot of different situations. You could use it to retake a point, to dissuade someone from pushing in. And the cool thing about this is that it can be triggered on demand, giving you the versatility. You don't have to set it up by throwing it. You can have it set up in a choke point or a location, and then when the enemy's pushing, you can activate it right on top of them, thus slowing them down. You could potentially spray them with bullets while they're inside, or you could potentially push up on them. There's a lot of different things you can do, but I think that it's going to be really powerful, especially comboed with other abilities. Thinking like something like Phoenix's Fireball, it could be a really interesting combo. Slow them, set them on fire. They can't really easily get out of danger. Now, something that's really interesting that you should think about is this ability can actually be comboed with both the next ability that we're going to talk about, which is the security camera. Basically, you can combo it by understanding where enemies are and you get more information. But the cool thing that you can combo it right off the bat is Trapwire. And the reason that that is true is because if the enemy walks in and gets stunned by Trapwire, if you cyber cage them and slow them, then they're trapped, stunned, and slowed, and then you could just pretty much completely eradicate them. Or you use the Trapwire to gain information, just like you would with the security camera that I'm going to talk about in a second. And then you can activate the cyber cage to prevent them from pushing in, or either trap them when they get in the proper positioning. It's all about information with CYPHER, which is really important because information is king in this game. And I'm going to explain that a little bit more at the end. So definitely stick around till then. But information essentially wins this entire game, not gunplay or how much you can frag. It's all about information in this game. And CYPHER's kit plays all into that information gathering, really making him one of the most powerful characters, in my opinion, at launch. Now, before we move on from Cyber Cage, keep in mind that you could stack two. And also, if you look at one, you can tap the interact key to activate just that one, or you can hold it and potentially activate both of them at the same time. So you can have two cyber cages coming up at two different choke points, completely blocking off an enemy's push or retreat. Now let's talk about an ability I just mentioned, which is his spy cam. Notably, his spy cam is free. So its default value that you get on the character, intrinsic value that you get each and every round, you can place it and pick it up, or every time you die, you get it right back, which is really cool. Now, here's what spy cam is. You throw it, it sticks to the wall, and it's a security camera that you can look through from anywhere on the map, and you get to see from its eyes, and you can move it around. On top of this, it can fire a dart that if you hit an enemy with it, it can reveal their location to you and your team, which, as I said before, information is key in this game. If you know where an enemy is, you can set up a play on them, potentially wall bang them, which is shooting through walls, which is very impactful in this game and going to be a huge aspect of the game altogether. A lot of different places can be wall banged. So knowing where an enemy is not just something small. It can really set you up for a scenario where you kill an enemy when they have little to no counterplay. So you might be asking, what can an enemy do to this? This seems really powerful. What is their counterplay? What can they do to stop your spy cam? And something that's important is that when you stick it to a wall, it's invisible. But the second you take it over, it is not invisible anymore and enemies can shoot it. So if you're using it and you activate it and you see some enemies, right off the bat, they're going to try to shoot it. So you need to be able to react in time. Make sure you shoot an enemy right off the bat, try to get that value from it. And keep in mind that if it gets destroyed, you're not going to get it back until you die. So that's really important. And then the last thing about spy cam that I think is really important to understand is that it can help you hold angles and hold choke points alone. Let's say there's two potential choke points for enemies to go through and you're a one person. You can use spy cam as a way to potentially block both angles and look at both angles so that you can't get pushed up on easily, and you can take engagements based on your information, even if you're only one person, which is something that almost no other character can do in the same way that CYPHER can, which is incredibly powerful. I can't reiterate that enough. Now let's talk about the last ability on CYPHER, which is his ultimate, Neuro Theft. And his ultimate is probably one of the most powerful ultimates that I've seen in the entire game. Here's what Neuro Theft does. If you're looking at an enemy in your crosshair and they're dead, you can activate your ultimate and reveal the location of all living enemies. Now, enemies will actually be aware when you use this, so they know that their location will be revealed, but this is so powerful. We talked about how information gathering is important. We talked about how knowing where enemies are can allow you to make game plans, can allow you to wall bang, can give you such a leg up on the competition that you can create all these fights that are completely unfair and lopsided for your team. Even if the enemy is better mechanically than you, even if the enemy has better positioning than you, if you know where they are, all of a sudden, none of that matters. You can set up a game plan to completely outplay whatever they have. And that is the power of this information ability. And the fact that it gives you information on every member on the enemy team is completely nuts. It's broken. And this is the only downside to this ability, is you almost need first pick. You need a kill to start it right off the bat. If you want to win the game with the maximum amount of advantage, where your team gets to keep all the good guns, your team gets to win the entire team fight, you want to get first pick, then you want to activate this ultimate, and then you just win out the team fight. That being said, you can also use it in a scrappier team fight. Let's say it's 3v3 or 2v2 or maybe even a 1v2 scenario. You find a dead body, you activate your ultimate, you know their locations, and then you try to turn a losing team fight into your advantage. So I think it has a lot of versatility, even though it's not as powerful as just being able to activate it without getting any kills. The fact that you can use it on an enemy that's in your crosshair reveals every single enemy, means that as the game plays out, it's going to be powerful, and it's going to be powerful when you're ahead. It's going to be powerful when you're behind. It has a lot of different uses, and I think it's one of the most powerful ultimates in the entire game. Now, to sum it up, what is CYPHER's strengths and what is his weaknesses? Well, it's apparent his strength is all in informational gathering, which, like I said, is one of the bread and butter cornerstones of this game. I think CYPHER, just because of his spy cam alone, is probably going to be essential in a lot of different team comps, and his trapwire and smart CYPHER use is going to completely dissuade an enemy from fast pushing the whole team, which is another thing that brings so much value to the table, and we're not even talking about his ultimates and all of his other utility. Now, he's not as aggressive as a lot of other characters such as Jett and Phoenix, and there's some aspects of his kit that's slightly lacking. Almost none of his abilities can allow you to make aggressive base plays, so I do think that CYPHER is inherently much better on defense, which means when you're on attack, you're gonna have to get creative on how you use these abilities. But on defense, he's gonna be absolutely nuts. But as you know, you can't swap characters mid-round. So if you play him on defense, you have to play him on attack, and you don't get to have that goodness all the time. That being said, what I think is gonna change more than anything is just what you buy. I still think that you can get value out of spy cam simply just using it to peek a corner, I still think you could give value out of cyber kits instead of scenarios where you try to use it just to block LOS instead of trapping enemies. That being said, I do think trapwire is the worst of the abilities on attack, but keep in mind that you can also pick and choose what you buy, and it could be much different from attack and defense. I'm guessing that Cypher is going to have like an attack meta and a defensive meta, and what you buy and what you prioritize is going to be different depending on if you're on attack or defense. I do think that Cypher is one of the best characters in the game, and if you're looking for a character that is disruptive, really stretches your game sense and understanding of the game where you outbrain enemies, Cypher is the character for you, and I think you're gonna love it. Anyways, if you like the content, do me a favor and smash the subscribe button. We definitely appreciate it as a new channel releasing daily content. Anyways, that's all I have for you today. I'm Coach Mills, and until next time,